Before we begin, welcome to Book Bite, the place where powerful books become life-changing ideas. Today, I don't want to start by talking about a book. I want to start by talking about you. Part 1. Why does peace feel so hard to find? Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt completely at peace? Not entertained, not distracted, not busy, not simply taking a break, but genuinely, deeply at peace. Take a moment. Can you remember? For many of us, that moment feels strangely difficult to find, because even when life is going well, our minds rarely stop. You finish one task and immediately think about the next. You achieve a goal only to replace it with another. You finally buy the thing you've wanted, and a few days later, it feels ordinary. It's almost as if no matter how much life improves, your mind keeps whispering, "Not enough. Keep going. You could be doing more." Have you ever noticed that? It's exhausting. Not because life is necessarily hard, but because your mind never seems willing to simply rest. We live in a world that celebrates more success, more money, more followers, more productivity, more achievements. And slowly, without realizing it, we begin believing that peace is something we'll experience after we accomplish one more thing, after the promotion, after graduation, after we earn enough money, after we become healthier, after we finally become the person we think we're supposed to be. But something curious happens. Every time we reach one destination, another appears. The finish line quietly moves, and once again, peace feels just out of reach. So we keep running, not because we know where we're going, but because everyone else seems to be running too. Think about your own life. How often do you allow yourself to simply be? Not improving yourself, not comparing yourself, not planning the future, not replaying the past, just being. For many people, that feels almost uncomfortable. Silence feels unfamiliar. Doing nothing feels unproductive. Rest feels like guilt. And maybe that's one of the greatest tragedies of modern life. We've become so skilled at building successful lives that we've forgotten how to experience them. There's an old Japanese idea that quietly challenges this way of living. It doesn't ask you to abandon your dreams. It doesn't tell you to stop growing. It doesn't say ambition is wrong. Instead, it asks a much gentler question. What if life was never meant to be perfectly balanced, but beautifully harmonious? The Japanese call this idea Nagomi, a word that's difficult to translate into English because Nagomi isn't simply peace, it isn't happiness, it isn't balance alone. It's the quiet harmony that appears when the different parts of your life stop fighting each other. Imagine an orchestra. If every instrument tried to become the loudest, the result wouldn't be beautiful, it would be noise. The music only becomes beautiful when each instrument knows when to lead and when to listen. Perhaps our lives are no different. Perhaps the problem isn't that we're missing something. Perhaps too many parts of our lives are all trying to play at once. Our ambitions, our fears, our expectations, our responsibilities, our regrets, all competing for our attention. No wonder we feel overwhelmed. Nagomi doesn't promise a perfect life, because perfection has never existed. Instead, it offers something far more realistic, a different way of living, one where success doesn't require sacrificing your peace, where growth doesn't require rejecting who you already are, where happiness isn't postponed until some imaginary future, but discovered in the life you're already living. And perhaps the peace you've been searching for hasn't been waiting at the end of your journey. Perhaps it's been quietly waiting for you to stop running long enough to finally notice it. But what exactly is Nagomi? Why has this simple Japanese philosophy helped people find harmony for generations? And more importantly, how can it help us in a world that never seems to slow down? That's where our journey truly begins.
So, what exactly is Nagomi? At first, the answer seems surprisingly simple. It's often translated as harmony, but that single word doesn't quite capture its meaning. Because Nagomi isn't something you achieve. It's not a destination, it's not a productivity system, it's not another self-improvement method promising to fix your life. In fact, Nagomi begins with a completely different idea. Maybe your life doesn't need to be fixed. Maybe it simply needs to come back into balance. Think about a river. It never flows in a perfectly straight line. It bends, it slows down, it speeds up. It moves around rocks instead of fighting them. And somehow, because it adapts, it keeps moving forward. Now imagine if the river insisted, I must only flow in a straight line. It would constantly crash into obstacles. It would fight against its own nature. Many of us live exactly like that. We believe life should always go according to plan. We expect ourselves to always feel motivated, always be happy, always make the right decision, always stay in control. And when reality doesn't match those expectations, we think something is wrong with us. But Nagomi gently reminds us, nothing is wrong. Life was never meant to move in a straight line. It was always meant to flow. Perhaps one of the biggest differences between modern thinking and the philosophy of Nagomi is how they view opposites. We're often taught to think in extremes, success or failure, strong or weak, winning or losing, right or wrong, happy or sad, as if life forces us to choose one side. But the Japanese have long understood something different. Opposites don't always have to compete. Sometimes they complete each other. Think about the sky. Without night, would we truly appreciate the sunrise? Without winter, would spring feel so alive? Without silence, would music have the same beauty? One gives meaning to the other. Life works the same way. Joy becomes meaningful because we've known sadness. Rest feels satisfying because we've experienced hard work. Courage only exists because fear exists. Nagomi doesn't ask us to eliminate one side. It teaches us to make room for both. This is why people living with Nagomi don't spend their lives chasing perfect balance, because perfect balance doesn't exist. Some days work will demand more of you. Other days, your family will. Sometimes you'll need to move quickly. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is slow down. Nagomi isn't about keeping every part of life equal. It's about knowing which part of your life needs your attention right now. Imagine holding a cup of tea. If you grip it too tightly, you might spill it. If you hold it too loosely, you'll drop it. The cup stays safe not because you're holding it with maximum strength, but with the right amount. Perhaps life asks us to do the same, not to hold everything tighter, but to hold it more gently, to stop trying to control every outcome, to stop demanding certainty from an uncertain world, to stop believing that peace will arrive only after life becomes perfect. Because maybe peace was never hiding in perfection. Maybe it has always existed in harmony. But if harmony is so natural, why do so many of us feel like we're constantly being pulled in different directions? Why does modern life make balance feel almost impossible? The answer may have less to do with us and more to do with the world we've created around us. And that's exactly where we'll go next. Part 3. The modern world is pulling us out of balance. If Nagomi is about harmony, why do so many of us feel so disconnected? Why does peace seem so difficult, even when life is better than ever before? Perhaps the problem isn't that we're weak. Perhaps we're trying to stay balanced in a world that's constantly pulling us in different directions. Think about your average day. Before your feet even touch the floor, you check your phone. Messages, emails, notifications, news, social media. Within minutes, your attention no longer belongs to you. It belongs to everyone else. And without noticing, your mind begins to race. Someone got promoted. Someone bought a new house. Someone is traveling the world. Someone is building a dream business. Someone seems happier, more successful, more attractive, more accomplished. And suddenly, your perfectly ordinary morning starts feeling strangely inadequate. Not because your life changed, but because your perspective did. Have you ever noticed how comparison quietly steals joy? Yesterday, you were grateful for what you had. Today, after scrolling for 10 minutes, it somehow doesn't feel like enough. The strange thing is, we're comparing our everyday reality to someone else's carefully edited highlights, their celebration, not their struggle, their smile, not their sleepless nights, their success. Part 4. Finding harmony within yourself. So, if the modern world keeps pulling us in different directions, where does harmony begin? The Japanese would probably answer, not out there, but in here. Because before we can create peace in our lives, we have to stop fighting ourselves. Think about the conversations you have inside your own mind. How often do they sound like this? I should be doing more. I'm behind. Why can't I be like everyone else? I'm not good enough. Sometimes, the person who speaks to us most harshly is ourselves. And after hearing those thoughts long enough, we begin to believe them. We become our own toughest critic, our own harshest judge. But let me ask you something. If one of your closest friends came to you feeling lost, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like they weren't enough, would you speak to them the way you speak to yourself? Probably not. You would listen. You would encourage them. You would remind them that they're human. So why is it that we offer compassion so freely to others, yet withhold it from ourselves? Nagomi gently invites us to begin there, not with perfection, not with self-improvement, but with self-acceptance. Now, that doesn't mean giving up on growth. It doesn't mean lowering your standards. It simply means recognizing that growth and kindness can exist together. Imagine trying to grow a tree. Would you help it by constantly pulling on its branches, demanding that it grow faster? Of course not. Growth happens with patience, with care, with time. Perhaps the same is true for us. Another reason we struggle is because we've been taught that difficult emotions are problems to solve. When sadness appears, we try to push it away. When anxiety comes, we panic because we're anxious. When we fail, we assume we've become failures. But emotions are like the weather. Some days are bright, some days are cloudy, some days bring storms. Yet no one looks at a rainy sky and says, "The sky is broken." We simply understand that the weather is changing. Nagomi asks us to treat our emotions with the same wisdom. You don't have to love every feeling. You don't have to enjoy pain. But you also don't have to fight every emotion as if it doesn't belong. Sometimes, the healthiest thing you can say is, "Right now, this is how I feel," without judgment, without shame, without pretending. Because healing often begins the moment we stop arguing with reality. There's another truth that many of us spend years resisting. You can be grateful and still have difficult days. You can be successful and still feel uncertain.
You can love someone deeply and still need space. You can be brave and still feel afraid. These aren't contradictions, they're part of being human. Nagomi teaches us that life isn't made up of perfect answers, it's made up of seemingly opposite experiences learning to exist together. Strength and vulnerability, ambition and rest, confidence and humility, joy and sadness. When we stop forcing ourselves to become only one thing, something remarkable happens. We begin to feel whole, not because every problem disappears, but because we're no longer at war with ourselves. Before trying to create harmony with the world, ask yourself one simple question. What part of me have I been refusing to accept? Maybe it's a mistake you still regret, a fear you've been hiding, a dream you've convinced yourself is impossible, or simply the fact that you're tired. Whatever it is, don't try to silence it. Listen to it, because sometimes the parts of ourselves we've been trying hardest to fix are simply asking to be understood. And once peace begins within us, it naturally begins to flow outward into our conversations, our friendships, our families, our work. Because harmony isn't something we keep for ourselves, it's something we create with the people around us. And that's where Nagomi takes us next, the quiet art of bringing harmony into our relationships.
So, if harmony begins within us, how does it change the way we relate to other people? Because the truth is, no matter how peaceful we become on our own, life will always involve others. Family, friends, colleagues, strangers, people who understand us, and people who don't. Perhaps that's why relationships can become our greatest source of happiness and our deepest source of pain. Think about the last disagreement you had with someone. Maybe it was over something small, a misunderstanding, a message that sounded colder than it was meant to be, a conversation that quickly turned into an argument. Have you ever noticed how often we're listening, not to understand, but to respond? The other person is still speaking, but we're already preparing our next sentence, defending ourselves, proving we're right, winning the conversation. Somewhere along the way, we began believing that every disagreement needs a winner. But Nagomi quietly asks, what if understanding someone is more important than defeating them? That one question can transform an entire relationship. The Japanese have long understood that harmony doesn't mean avoiding conflict. It means approaching conflict without turning the other person into your enemy. Because behind every harsh word is often an emotion that hasn't been understood. Behind anger, there may be fear. Behind silence, there may be sadness. Behind criticism, there may be disappointment. We only see the reaction, rarely the reason behind it. Imagine an iceberg floating in the ocean. What you see above the surface is only a small part. The much larger part remains hidden underwater. People are like that too. The impatient coworker, the distant friend, the parent who seems overly strict, the stranger who suddenly loses their temper. We see the behavior, but we rarely see the stress they're carrying, the grief they're hiding, the battles they're quietly fighting. Nagomi reminds us that every person we meet is living a life we know almost nothing about. And perhaps that realization naturally creates compassion, not because everyone is always right, but because everyone is human. Another beautiful lesson of Nagomi is that harmony doesn't require us to agree on everything. Imagine an orchestra once again. The violin doesn't try to become the piano. The flute doesn't compete with the cello. Each instrument has its own voice, its own purpose, its own place. And because they're different, the music becomes richer. Relationships work the same way.
Real harmony isn't created when everyone thinks alike. It's created when different people learn to respect one another, to listen, to adapt, to make space for perspectives different from their own. Perhaps one of the greatest gifts we can offer someone is our full attention. Not advice, not solutions, just the feeling that, for a few moments, they've been completely heard. In today's world, that gift has become surprisingly rare. We're constantly distracted, checking our phones, thinking about tomorrow, half listening while doing something else. But when someone truly feels heard, something remarkable happens. Walls begin to come down. Trust begins to grow. Connection quietly returns. And maybe that's what harmony has always been. Not the absence of differences, but the presence of understanding. Before trying to change someone, try understanding them. Before trying to win an argument, ask yourself, is being right more important than protecting this relationship? Sometimes the strongest thing you can say isn't, "I told you so." Sometimes it's simply, "Help me understand." Because every relationship, just like every garden, needs patience, care, attention, and time. But harmony doesn't end with the people around us. It also extends to the way we move through the world itself, to the food we eat, the pace we live, the moments we often rush past without noticing. And perhaps that's where Nagomi becomes most beautiful, in the quiet rituals of everyday life.
So, if Nagomi brings harmony to our relationships, can it also transform the way we live each day? The Japanese believe the answer is yes, because harmony isn't found only in big decisions. It's hidden inside ordinary moments. Think about your mornings. How do they usually begin? With sunlight or with a screen? Before you've even had your first sip of water, your mind is already full. Messages, emails, news, notifications, someone else's opinions, someone else's expectations, someone else's life. It's as if, before we've had a chance to hear our own thoughts, the world has already started speaking for us. No wonder we feel exhausted. We've forgotten what silence sounds like. One of the most beautiful ideas behind Nagomi is that peace doesn't always come from adding something new. Sometimes it comes from removing what was never necessary. Imagine walking into a room filled with noise, people talking, music playing, phones ringing, televisions running. Then, one by one, everything becomes quiet. Nothing new has been added, yet suddenly you feel lighter. Sometimes peace works exactly like that, not by giving us more, but by taking away the unnecessary. The Japanese have always appreciated simple rituals, not because they're extraordinary, but because they invite us to be fully present. Making a cup of tea, preparing a meal, walking beneath the trees, opening a window to let fresh air in, watching the rain without reaching for a camera. These moments seem almost insignificant until we realize they're the moments life is actually made of. We often believe happiness arrives during life's biggest milestones, graduations, promotions, weddings, vacations. But if you add them together, those moments make up only a tiny fraction of your life. The rest is made of ordinary Tuesdays, quiet mornings, simple meals, conversations at the dinner table, a walk home after work. If we can't find beauty there, we'll spend most of our lives waiting. Nagomi gently reminds us, don't wait for life to become special. Learn to notice that it already is. Have you ever watched a child exploring a garden? They stop for things adults hardly notice: a butterfly, a fallen leaf, the shape of a cloud, a tiny flower growing through concrete. Children aren't happier because the world is different.
They're happier because they're paying attention. Somewhere along the way, we stopped noticing. We rush past sunsets. We eat without tasting. We listen without hearing. We live without fully arriving in the moment we're living. Perhaps that's why life sometimes feels so fast, not because time moves quicker, but because our attention is always somewhere else. Nagomi invites us to return, not to yesterday, not to tomorrow, to this moment, right here. The breath you're taking, the chair beneath you, the sound around you, the quiet miracle that you're alive to experience another ordinary day. And maybe there are no ordinary days. Maybe we've simply become too distracted to recognize how extraordinary they really are. Before moving on, I'd like to leave you with one small challenge. Tomorrow morning, don't reach for your phone immediately. Instead, open a window, take one slow breath, notice the light, listen to the world waking up. Just for 1 minute, allow yourself to arrive before the world asks something from you. You might be surprised how different your entire day begins to feel, because harmony isn't created by one life-changing decision. It's created by hundreds of quiet moments that slowly change the way we experience life. And once those moments begin to change, something else changes too. Our habits, our choices, our entire way of living. So the final question becomes, how do we practice Nagomi every single day? That's where our journey continues.
Part 7. Practicing Nagomi every day.
So we've talked about harmony, balance, relationships, and the quiet beauty of simple living. But perhaps you're wondering something practical. How do I actually live this way? Because beautiful ideas mean very little if they never become part of our daily lives. The good news is, Nagomi doesn't ask you to change everything overnight. In fact, it suggests the opposite. Real transformation rarely begins with dramatic decisions. It begins with small ones. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, before reaching for your phone, before checking your messages, before letting the world tell you who you need to be. Pause, just for 1 minute. Take a slow breath. Look outside your window. Notice the morning light. Listen to the quiet. It may seem insignificant, but you've already done something powerful. You've reminded yourself that your attention belongs to you, not to your notifications. Throughout the day, life will test your balance. Someone may disappoint you. Plans may fall apart. Stress may appear without warning. When that happens, notice your first reaction. Do you immediately resist it, fight it, complain about it? Or can you simply pause and ask yourself, what does this moment need from me? Not, what do I wish this moment looked like, but what does it need? Sometimes it needs patience. Sometimes it needs courage. Sometimes it needs rest. And sometimes it simply needs acceptance. Nagomi reminds us that wisdom isn't reacting automatically. Wisdom is creating a small space between what happens and how we choose to respond. That tiny space can change an entire day. There's another practice that may be even more difficult: learning to say enough. Enough work for today, enough scrolling, enough worrying about tomorrow, enough comparing yourself to people living completely different lives. In today's world, everything encourages us to consume more, do more, become more. But Nagomi gently asks, what if enough is actually enough? Think about your evenings. How do they usually end? With another hour of scrolling, another email, another reason to stay busy? What if, instead, you ended the day differently? Close the laptop, put the phone aside,
Make yourself a warm cup of tea. Read a few pages of a book. Sit in silence. Watch the sky grow darker. Not because you're trying to be productive, but because you're allowing yourself to arrive at the end of the day. We spend so much of our lives rushing toward tomorrow that we rarely notice today. And perhaps the greatest habit of all is gratitude. Not the kind that's forced, not pretending everything is perfect, but quietly asking yourself each evening, what was one beautiful moment I almost missed today? Maybe it was a smile from a stranger, the smell of fresh rain, a conversation that made you laugh, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the comfort of returning home. Life is filled with these moments. They don't disappear, we simply stop noticing them. Nagomi teaches us that peace isn't hiding somewhere far away. It's quietly woven into ordinary life, waiting for our attention. Before we move to our final lessons, I'd like to leave you with one simple challenge. Tomorrow, don't try to become a different person. Don't chase a completely new life. Instead, choose just one moment, one conversation, one meal, one walk, one breath, and experience it completely, without rushing, without distraction, without wishing you were somewhere else. Because perhaps a peaceful life isn't created by living extraordinary days. Perhaps it's created by experiencing ordinary days extraordinarily well. And once you begin living that way, you discover something remarkable. Nagomi was never about escaping life. It was about learning how to be fully present within it. Which brings us to the 3 greatest lessons this beautiful philosophy has to offer. The lessons that have the power to quietly change the way we live forever.
Part 8. The 3 greatest lessons of Nagomi. So, we've explored harmony, balance, relationships, simple living, and the quiet habits that bring peace into everyday life. But if we had to close this book and carry only 3 lessons with us, which ones would truly matter? Perhaps these are the ideas that sit at the very heart of Nagomi, not because they're easy, but because they have the power to quietly change the way we see ourselves and the way we live. Lesson 1. Peace isn't found by controlling life, it's found by flowing with it. Most of us spend years trying to control everything. We want certainty, we want guarantees, we want every plan to unfold exactly as we imagined. But life has never made those promises. People change, dreams change, circumstances change, even we change. Yet every time reality refuses to follow our plans, we suffer. Not because change is happening, but because we're resisting it. Imagine holding water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Life can feel the same. The harder we try to control every outcome, the more anxious we become. Nagomi gently reminds us, the strongest tree isn't the one that never bends, it's the one that bends with the wind without breaking. Perhaps resilience has never been about resisting change. Perhaps it's about learning to move with it. Lesson 2. Balance isn't something you find, it's something you practice. Many people believe one day everything will finally fall into place. Work will be perfect, relationships will be easy, stress will disappear, and life will feel balanced forever. But harmony doesn't work that way. Think about riding a bicycle. You're never perfectly still. Every second, you're making tiny adjustments, leaning slightly left, then slightly right, again and again. Balance isn't a fixed position, it's a continuous practice. Life is no different. Some days you'll work more, some days you'll need more rest. Sometimes you'll feel confident, sometimes you'll doubt yourself. The goal isn't to eliminate those changes. The goal is to keep returning to your center again and again.
without judging yourself for drifting away. Lesson 3. The life you're searching for may already be here. Perhaps this is the most beautiful lesson of all. Think about everything you've spent your life chasing: the next achievement, the next vacation, the next milestone, the next version of yourself. There's nothing wrong with having dreams. Dreams give us direction. But sometimes we become so focused on reaching tomorrow that we forget to experience today. Imagine climbing a mountain. You're so focused on reaching the summit that you never stop to admire the forests, the rivers, the sunrise, the birds singing beside the trail. You finally reach the top, only to realize most of the beauty was along the way. Perhaps life is asking us the same question. What moments have you overlooked because you were too busy searching for something bigger? The smile of someone you love, a quiet evening at home, the sound of rain against your window, a meal shared with family, the simple comfort of taking a deep breath, knowing you're alive. These moments don't seem extraordinary until one day you realize they were your life. And maybe the peace you've been searching for has never been waiting somewhere in the future. Maybe it has been quietly waiting inside the ordinary moments you've been rushing past. So if Nagomi teaches us anything, it's this: life doesn't become meaningful because everything finally becomes perfect. It becomes meaningful when we begin paying attention, when we stop fighting every season of life, when we stop measuring our happiness against someone else's journey, when we stop asking, "What else do I need?" and begin asking, "What have I already been blessed with?" Because sometimes the greatest transformation doesn't happen when your life changes. It happens when your way of seeing life changes. And perhaps that's the quiet miracle of Nagomi. It doesn't ask you to become someone else. It gently helps you come home to the person you've been all along. Which brings us to one final reflection, not about the book, but about your own life, and perhaps the most important question you'll ask yourself today.
Part 9. Living a Nagomi life. So, we've reached the end of our journey. We've talked about balance, harmony, relationships, simple living, and the quiet moments that often pass unnoticed. But before we close this book, I'd like to ask you one final question. Not a question about Nagomi, a question about your life. Who are you becoming by the way you're living today? Not the version of yourself you're planning to become someday, not the person you hope to be 5 years from now, the person you're becoming right now, with your daily habits, your thoughts, your conversations, your priorities. Because life has a quiet way of shaping us, one ordinary day at a time. We often believe that our lives are transformed by dramatic moments, a new job, a new city, a major achievement. But if you look back, you'll realize something surprising. Your life wasn't built by extraordinary days. It was built by thousands of ordinary ones. The mornings you rushed through, the meals you barely tasted, the conversations you half listened to, the sunsets you never stopped to watch, the people you assumed would always be there. Perhaps the greatest tragedy isn't that life moves so quickly. Perhaps it's that we're often too busy to notice it while it's happening. Nagomi gently reminds us that life is not a race to the finish line, because if life is only about reaching the next destination, we'll spend our entire lives arriving without ever feeling present. Imagine an old photograph, one you haven't looked at in years. Maybe it's from your childhood. Maybe it's your family sitting around a dinner table. Maybe it's an ordinary afternoon that didn't seem important at the time. Yet today, looking at that picture, you'd give anything to step into that ordinary moment just one more time. Isn't that strange? The moments we miss the most were often the ones we barely noticed while living them. Maybe today, someone is creating a memory with you that they'll treasure years from now. Maybe
the life you've been calling ordinary is quietly becoming the story you'll one day miss the most. So don't wait for a perfect day to be grateful. Don't wait for everything to finally make sense. Don't wait until life slows down on its own, because it probably won't. Instead, slow down yourself. Take the longer walk. Call your parents. Sit with your grandparents a little longer. Laugh without checking your phone. Eat without a rush. Watch the rain. Watch the sunrise. Tell the people you love that you love them, not because life is ending, but because life is happening right now. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to leave you with one final reflection. Imagine meeting yourself 10 years from today, a wiser version of you, someone who has experienced more joy, more loss, more change, more life. If that future version of you could whisper just one sentence into your ear, do you think they would say, work harder, own more, become more successful? Maybe, but perhaps their words would be much simpler. Don't rush so much. Be present. The moments you keep postponing are your life. Because in the end, Nagomi isn't really about finding harmony. It's about remembering that harmony has always been available to us. In every quiet morning, every honest conversation, every shared meal, every deep breath, every moment we choose presence over distraction, gratitude over comparison, connection over performance, and acceptance over perfection. Maybe peace was never hiding in some distant future. Maybe it has been quietly waiting inside this very moment all along. Thank you for spending this time with me, and thank you for being part of Book Bite. If this journey has given you even one moment of reflection, don't rush to the next video just yet. Close your eyes for a moment, take one slow breath, and ask yourself, what part of my life have I been moving through so quickly that I've forgotten to truly experience it? Perhaps the answer to that question is the beginning of your own Nagomi journey. If you enjoy exploring timeless wisdom from books that don't just teach you how to succeed, but teach you how to live, then Book Bite is where those conversations continue. Until next time, take care of your mind, take care of the people you love, and most importantly, take care of the ordinary moments, because one day you'll realize they were never ordinary at all.